Yo, 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 what is up, YouTube? It's me, the Air, back again. I haven't posted in the last, 7 minutes because I killed myself with my own willpower and then reincarnated myself with my own willpower again, which is a great introduction to segueing into talking about that time I got reincarnated as a slime. Season 2, um, and I'm just gonna get right into it. I think it was kind of dog water. So, okay. Duh, duh. Before I get like super into this, I'm gonna preface that uh a lot of this is based off the fact that I did end up reading the light novel, but um I only started reading the light novel between episodes 4 and 5 of season 2, and 100% while the issues I have with the show are highlighted, made easier to see, like having read the light novel, like the core issues are things that I was either frustrated with before reading the light novel, or things that I think would seem really off regardless of the comparison with the light novel or whatever in of itself, etc., etc. Because obviously, um, the biggest issue I had with, and the reason that I went to the light novel in the first place, was time wasting. Um, one of the I'll talk about it later, but one of the episodes in here is literally composed of 12 pages of the light novel. It's the entire episode is 12 pages of the light novel, and it's not even an important conversation or fight scene. It's just okay, yeah. So time wasting, they do a lot of it. There are a lot of recaps and flashbacks. Uh, there's a entire like 5 minute flashback of part of the Hinata fight. They retell the dragon story like 2 or 3 times. It's really weird. And then especially towards the beginning, they're just not cutting any of the boring content. We get like 2 or 3 entertaining episodes in the first 9, and then we get Prelude to Disaster and The Beauty Makes Her Move, and these are almost 100% teases, besides 4 minutes of a Hinata fight that Rimuru never really stood a chance in to begin with, so it can't really be considered one of the fight scenes of the show. It was kind of just Rimuru sitting there getting his cheeks clapped for 4 minutes. Um, so yeah, that kind of, I guess, concludes like the general stuff on uh time wasting. Besides besides episode specific stuff that I'll get into in a minute, I guess. So the second and main issue I had was like mostly stuff related to the tone and mood. So the episode titled Despair surprisingly contains very little despair. Rimuru isn't alerted to the actual loss of lives until minute 16 of the episode, and the actual moment of despair lasts less than 2 minutes as he regains his cool. 5 minutes later, at around minute 21, enthusiastic and hopeful music starts playing again, and Rimuru plots a course for the future. So, like, what's wrong with this episode? Well, so first off, we start off by finishing the Hinata fight with a 2 minute recap of the fight that we already watched, all to simply tell us that he did mitosis mitochondria as the powerhouse of the cell, and bullshitted his way out and lived. We skip back to the town, where we begin a few fights but don't end any of them. Uh, Nothing that didn't happen in the light novel, but it's just not really interesting. There was no reason to have it there. After wasting some more time walking around, Rimuru finally learns about the attack. But in this episode, no named characters are revealed to be among the dead, which more or less means that, um, as an audience, I really couldn't be led to give a shit. I get that it's important for Rimuru because I mean I guess Rimuru probably knew the name of Goblin Number 47, Gobito, Gobonzo, Garbanzo. Like I don't care though. I mean, it was a sad scene, but like the real tearjerkers would really only be the characters that we knew and loved. We don't know these people. Uh, so like what about that character? Or what about those characters? So, at minute 6 of the next episode, I believe, Rimuru finds out about the death of Shion. As an audience, we are allowed a collective 4 minutes of the sad, cried a little bit, yeah, so we're allowed 4 minutes of sad, the sad, just 4 minutes of depression. We're almost immediately jumping back to the triumphant and hopeful music that tells us that everything's going to be okay. Then we get this sort of unsatisfying scene with Mulin, started by another weirdly upbeat discussion about how Yom's gonna take over as king once Rimuru. Oh, and he literally says wipes out all the military and top officials. Rimuru's just sitting there happily and is just kind of nonchalantly got his legs crossed on the bed, talking about toppling this country, and it's just a really weird tone to set as he, you know, uh, not as he, as the effects of everything are downplayed. Like, it's the main issue with this season, the deliberate downplaying of the seriousness of the situation. Like, a lot of this comes from my decision to, like, read the light novels. I finished, like, all of them before episode 5, in between 4 and 5 in, like, a week or two. But even without comparing the tone in the show to the tone in the book, it's just weird. Like, the adaptation, the show, talks about killing 20k people in the same tone of voice that he would talk about having a tea party. Like, this represents a huge change in his policies as, like, a ruler, his morals as an individual, a change in the plot structure in relation to, like, dealing with foes, because up until all this point, his foes just, I don't know, power of friendship get forced into being his friends or something. So, like, that's a massive change for, like, Tempest going forward. But, like, all of it's downplayed in the anime, and I just don't really get it. Because this arc is huge for the series as a whole, and at least in, well, I won't even say at least in the light novel, even in the anime, it represents the darkest and most influential segment of Rimuru's path as a leader. Like, but in the show, it gets treated like a side quest to go resurrect Shion and accidentally become a demon lord in the process. Rimuru is pissed, and we want him to be pissed. But for some reason, the show refuses to portray him as such, and they only put on, like, serious or dark music a few times per episode, consisting of, like, a few minutes at max. How is Rimuru so happy? There's hope, but it's a painfully long shot, and he knows it. That's why he's willing to kill 20k people to do it. Like, the truth of the matter is that about 100 of his, like, townspeople and close friends are just dead, lying on the streets in the capital city. This is not a good time for him. It's just not. So, now I'll talk about, we're just moving, I guess, chronologically at this point. Episode 9, the worst atrocity in this season to date. This episode is just a meeting, the entire episode. I talked about the 12-pager earlier. This is it. Get ready for it. I have evidence. If anyone wants to argue this one, there's actual evidence. I can show you the place in the light novel where this scene starts and stops. The only important reveal of this entire meeting, which is the entire episode, is that Rimuru tells his inner circle that he was a human before. This is completely unimportant because none of them give a shit, and the audience knew this from the beginning. So it's not an audience reveal, and it's not an important reveal to his inner circle. The rest of the meeting consists of just arguments about who's taking the blame, which eventually they just, of course, share blame. Announcement of intention to become a demon lord, which is kind of big, but it's more that he's going to attempt to become a demon lord. It's not like a simple thing. He's just going to uh, go kill all the humans. You go that way, I'll go this way. You go that way. Uh, the episode feels like it was just stalling the entire time. Um, and like I said, it's because it was stalling the entire time. It's 12 pages, start to finish. I I watched the episode. I felt like it was a nothing burger of an episode, so I went back to see if maybe I was wrong about it. But I wasn't. I was right. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's 12 pages out of a 300-page novel. Uh, so moving on chronologically, let's get to episode 10 of this bad boy. Uh, in episode 10, we finally are able to get a taste of what they've been waving in front of us since episode 5. This one's actually real revenge type stuff, and it feels good. Hakuro decapitates Bitch Boy while he's using Thought Acceleration, which has great dramatic effect. Geld egos Shogo, who gains a healing skill mid-fight, pretty much just so that Geld can beat the shit out of him even more before he dies. It's not super gory, but it's intense and it's definitely brutal. We see and feel the anger of the inhabitants of Tempest. They're not gonna forgive these people, like they have in the past. And they're gonna blaze a new course. So, out of all the episodes, honestly, I'm like calling these episode 10, 11. It's actually not numbered like that, but if you just take season 2 out of context, then you can number them like that if you want to. Anyways, um, this episode's honestly probably the most. It's the best one of the season by far. Um, then we get to the worst part of this episode, which is moving on to Rimru's Rampage, the moment we're all waiting for. And my first thoughts are 20,000 people? Where? The encampment is like maybe 20 tents. Like I don't know. I didn't. I should go count. I wish I would have counted now. But I'm fairly certain, unless you've got a couple hundred people in each one of those tents, there's not even close to 20k people. This isn't an encampment for 20,000 people. This is an encampment for like, 2,000 maybe max. My second thought was just moving really fast. The anti-magic area that he deploys in the light novels over a mile wide. Just going back to the sort of lack of scale that that we get subjected to in the show. He says it's 20,000 people. He goes, it's clearly not. He deploys that anti-magic area over the entire thing that looks pretty small. What's going on with the music in that scene? The music is like triumphant outro music while he's slaughtering the enemy army. The number count's badass. But it doesn't feel very brutal. Like, where the breakdown of the ranks, the confusion, the struggle to regroup, like where is all this? In the next episode, it's sort of there. Episode 11's not bad, which would be episode 35, Birth of the Demon Lord. Yeah. But it's just not as brutal as it should have been. The episode still had a good impact, but actually, I don't really remember which episode I'm on anymore. But yeah, I think the episode still had a good impact, but Rimuru is outwardly, like, the only way we can describe his actions in words is brutal. But how it's framed and the scenes are purposefully set, they're managed to minimize both the gore and dramatic effect of the scene. Until while we're up in the air while we're in the scenes up in the air with Rimuru, like, the music is like triumphant and happy and weird feeling for what's going on. We get a little bit of the sense of like the terror of what's going on when we go on the ground with the couple troops from Farmouth, and the king and Rosin and you know, rest of the Bitch Boy crew, I guess. But like I don't I don't get why did they choose to frame it like this? Why did they take what represents like the biggest sort of change of pace in the entire show and then make it basically nothing? It's such a weird flex, and I'll never understand it. We don't get any more. Well, I mean, I don't want to. So if I'll kind of get into light novel spoilers after this. So if that's the end of the review, basically. But we're not really going to be getting any arcs that are this serious in the near future. So like this was the moment to take a moment to get serious. But we didn't even take an entire. There's not even one episode in this show. There's not a single episode in the entire season that gets serious for more than 4 minutes. We actually have a maximum of 4 minutes for the episode being serious. And yeah, that's it. So, see ya.